Let's have a chat about reform. Obviously, I know quite a bit about reform, and other people know of reform. But what they may not know about is your eight key principles. And I didn't know about. Obviously, they're fairly new. I read them last week, and the first one jumped. I mean, I liked them all. The first one jumped out at me straight away because I've been saying this for quite a long time. And the first one is the state is our servant, not our master. We vote these politicians in to serve us, to serve our will, to make the country better, to do what we need them to do. They're not there to tell us what to do. There's a big difference.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the eight principles came about because one of our members, who's a trainer by profession, actually, got in touch with us, and he's been a big help to the police and crime group. And so I got together with the police and crime spokesman, Neil McCabe, and we had a little meeting with this guy, Chris Farmer, and we put together this idea. And we then went and presented it to the chief exec, Paul Oakden. He had a chat with Richard, and they gave us the nod to develop it, meet up on Zooms and develop it and develop it and develop it. And so we came up with the eight principles. And the first one is the one that really sort of leads on to our new doorstep slogan, which is work in progress, which is lend us your power and we'll give you back your freedom.
Nice. I like it.
When I came up with that, which they were all a bit astonished by, really, because they think of me as some sort of autistic nutcase that sits in the corner. But I do things. I get on with stuff. So that sort of first one is the thing that underpins the whole thing. And there are a couple of other things in there.
Give us another couple of examples of these eight principles.
People are free. Certain freedoms, rights, and liberties should always be guaranteed, regardless of circumstances. Governments must demonstrate beyond reasonable doubt when limiting freedoms that it is conducive to the common good. Freedom of speech, faith, expression, and conscience should always be guaranteed. Now, obviously, with freedom of speech, freedom of expression comes consequences. You know better than anybody that is the case. But nevertheless, they are indomitable rights which we should demand. So that's really the second one.
How I see that second one there, how I explain that to people is, in this country, we're born free men and free women. At birth, we have all those rights of freedom. We then have a conversation with government about which one of those rights needs slightly curtailing for the benefit of society. So government do not give us our rights. We have them automatically at birth. But we then negotiate which ones need, taking down a little bit, or which ones need never to be touched. And that's a conversation we have with government, not government telling us which ones they're going to reduce or which ones we can have. It doesn't work like that.
Just going back to that particular thing that you've just said, our laws in this country since Magna Carta have always been, you can do whatever you want to do, so long as there's no law to stop you. If you look at the EU, it's the other way around. You're not allowed to do anything unless the law specifically says you can.
Unless the EU tell you can.
Exactly. And that's one of the main reasons, the main thrusts of a reason why it will never, ever work. The culture of this country is still that we believe that we are free to do whatever we want as long as there's no law against it. And obviously, most people's values are such, as long as I'm not doing anybody any harm with what I do. But moving on, the other one that is absolutely of great importance for me is national sovereignty. And the government should protect at all times our institutions, democratic processes, culture, and national discourse from undue foreign or corporate influence. And I think that, there's a lot of people around nowadays who are conspiracy theorists who are saying that, Bill Gates tells Boris to ring Nick Buckley and upset him. And of course, that's all complete nonsense. All of that is explained very easily by a complete lack of competence by the civil service. But there are, nevertheless, lots of unelected non-government organisations, sometimes headed up and funded by wealthy individuals, sometimes, funded by members and managed by elected officials. And things like Greenpeace and Friends of the Earth. I mean, they exist. I mean, certainly, I remember getting a copy of the Friends of the Earth's manifesto for Yorkshire. Now, why Friends of the Earth, that isn't a political party, would have a manifesto, I don't know. But when I read it, it was essentially an anti-car rant that was trying to prevent any investment at all in Yorkshire. Now, times move on, things change. You have to keep moving with the times. At the moment, the biggest complaint we get from potential candidates for reform is that they've put themselves forward because locally there's massive new developments of housing and industrial buildings, and no development of infrastructure, no public transport, no new roads. So we've got this. The 40-year war on the car is coming to a head. People are beginning to realise. They're now starting to talk about driving tests for older drivers. I met Stirling Moss when he was 80. And believe you me, he would absolutely murder anybody out of sight, even at 80 years old. It's not like older drivers are having loads of accidents. There's nothing to drive that, and yet there's still this thing, and it's all part of that number 8 principle of national sovereignty, where we are listening to unelected groups that are working.
Yeah, I can give you some of examples. So if you want to know external groups who are not elected that heavily influence our country, let's look at big tech. Let's look at Google. Let's look at Twitter. Let's look at Facebook. And they have a huge influence in our country by telling us what news we can watch and what news we can't watch, who can talk, who can't talk, what you can say and what you can't say. And then have a look at some of the charities and NGOs. Let's look at Stonewall. Who voted Stonewall in? Nobody. But they've infiltrated every level of government